a satirical political cartoon of Muhammad. Okay, so again, not a shock. You know, we've seen similar things. I mean, Finland and so forth in the past. But to me, I think, Michael, what I would like to talk about is like clockwork, Democrats, including Moonbeam Howard Dean, have rushed to tell us that Muslims aren't terrorists and terrorists aren't Muslims. That to me is the story in this country.
It's just they are absolutely bending themselves over backwards to it's nuts,
And you
right?
know, and it's, I mean, they've done it for years. I mean, it's to be expected. Let's I mean, just to set the stage here. And listen, Howard Dean is a an unimportant clown. There, I mean, I'm sorry, but he is. I mean, you know, back to his race when he found himself accidentally when he was, I forget which presidential primary season it was, but he found himself actually leading the thing on the Democratic side. And you know, the Dean scream thing. I mean, the guy's been a clown forever, and he, you know, his comments are off the wall. So he doesn't matter. But I want to play this clip because what does matter is he articulates exactly the way many liberals, I don't want to even say majority, but many liberals view this whole thing and the defense of Islam. Jessica, roll that.
In response, again, 11 people dead, at least 10 injured, and 5 of them seriously.
Being among the dead, too. So.
Howard. Yeah, you know, this is a chronic problem. I stopped calling these people Muslim terrorists. They're about as Muslim as I am. I mean, they have no respect for anybody else's life. That's not what the Quran says. And you know, Europe has an enormous radical problem, and an enormous. I think ISIS is a cult, not an Islamic cult. I think it's a cult.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, you got to deal with these people. The interesting thing here is we talked about guns the last time, regarding the United States, regarding how guns get in the hands of the kind of people that killed the 2 police officers here 2 weeks ago. France has tremendous gun control laws, and yet these people are able to get Kalashnikovs. So. Yeah. You know, this is really complicated stuff, and I think you have to treat these people as basically mass murderers, but I do not think that we should accord them any particular religious respect, because I don't think, whatever they're claiming their motivation is, clearly is a twisted, cultish mind.
Yeah. All right.
Dude, you can't make it up. I mean, this guy is so far out there in left field.
The one thing we cannot do is call them Muslim terrorists. I mean, no. they're not. The one thing they're not is Muslim terrorists.
He says, I think ISIS is a cult, not an Islamic cult. I don't think we should accord them any particularly religious aspect. Really? So, like, you know, I mean, they could just as well be Southern Baptist terrorists?
Well, I was just, you know, it's funny, as I was going through the theological statement, and I was going to say that they're perhaps, or at least suggest that they're perhaps Amish terrorists.
See, I knew you were going there. That's why you and I are awesome, because if you'd have stopped and told me to fill in the blank, I would have completed it with Amish. I knew that's where you were headed.
Although, you know what? There are some distinctions way in the details. They also could be Reformed Mennonite as well.
Well, that's true because of the beards and stuff. You know, I mean, you could be right. Listen, you know, I want to move on with this discussion about the way liberals defend, cheerlead for Islam. But let's not miss something he said that I think is, and maybe we'll talk about this in a larger context at some later time. But I was surprised as hell that he referenced France's strict gun control laws and the fact that they were still able to get a hold of Kalashnikovs, you know, and the same thing with the shooting of the cops. You know, he just made and articulated very clearly the case against the whole nonsense of gun grabbers.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one question, the Kalashnikovs that were used, were they automatic or semi-automatic? Do you know?
Well, I just know that they were assault weapons, as the left tells us. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know. But That part of it surprised me that he actually said that. I'm wondering if he were to look back at that clip, if he wishes maybe that part wasn't said, because again, that plays exactly into the hands of the Second Amendment folks, and the fact that, taking away guns from law-abiding citizens does not keep them out of the hands of those who would do us harm.
Yeah, it's funny is many of these shooting type of situations. Well, let me ask you this. I don't know the details of how the thing ended. Did anybody have a gun to do any sort of thing to attempt to stop these guys? Is there any story like that circulating? Do you have any idea?
No, and moreover, they, as of the last time I checked the news, which was right before I came on the show, they're still on the loose. So no, I mean, they did what they did. They shot one person, at least one. I mean, there's kind of graphic YouTube video of it up as we speak. As they got out of the car, very calmly shot him, walked up to them, shot him again to make sure they were dead. And no, there was no one to stop them at all.
Wow. Well, that obviously is always the first thing that comes to my mind. The thing that, I just got a note here from listener Dan Fitzgerald that they went after the cops first. So they went after the guys with the guns first.
Exactly. Like I said, I think the first person they killed as they were to enter the building was a police officer.
Oh, interesting.
So here's the. I want to. What do we got? Like 9 minutes. Maybe finish the segment out with this, because this stuff is important, and I think there are two issues here. I want to talk about, again, why does the left rush to cheerlead for the religion of peace, as they call it, Islam? And then secondly, Michael, this whole multiculturalism experiment in Europe, as I prefer to call it, the Islamization of Europe, and what that can maybe tell us in terms of what we're doing here. So back to the first part. Why do you think the left rushes to defend Islam every time something like this occurs?
Because for the most part, the left is all about stated intentions and good feelings, and there are aspects of certain adherents to the Muslim religion that have really well-intended and clearly stated goals. And so rather than judge them by the consequences of some of those things, when they self-describe as a religion of peace, that to the left is a meaningful thing. So that's part of it. So that if something doesn't support that self-described narrative, it's therefore can't be part of it.
All right, so let's assume that's true and apply that to, let's say the Westboro Baptist Church, which you and I and anyone who knows anything about them know that they are despicable human beings, for what they do. I mean, this is the group that protests with awful signs at the funerals of fallen soldiers and other things. Why don't we hear that, in defense of Christianity, let alone on a larger scale, the left's ongoing attack against, right-wing religious evangelists or loons or whatever. That's my point. They apply it to Islam, but they do not apply that same logic that you just described to Christianity.
Well, you know what? I would say this. I would say that Howard Dean would come out and say that the Westboro Baptist folks are no more representative of Christianity than the people shooting folks in Paris are representative of those of Islam. I think
and he may, but I think the point remains, the left very critical when it has the opportunity, or at least anxious to point out someone's Christian beliefs when it applies to anything that happens by a purported Christian or whatever that's controversial or worse. But on the other hand, they rush to defend Well, let me say it this way. Specifically the Westboro Baptist. Every time they do something terrible, you never see the left-wing media. You never see Howard Dean, any of these people racing to a camera to say, now, Westboro Baptist isn't Christian and Christians aren't Westboro Baptist. That never, ever happens.
No, that's very true. And I think that's probably because, for the most part, those that identify as Christian tend to be on the conservative side, and and on the Muslim side, there's a strange bedfellows between the far left and a Muslim agenda. It's funny.
Hit the nail on the head. You just hit the nail on the head.
Yes, I do, as per usual, of course.
It took you a while, but you finally got it.
I finally made my way around there. Now, Jess, do you have the president has weighed in on this whole Muslim, the Muhammad cartoon thing. Do you want to play that little clip? It's really short.
Okay, I'll do it now.
The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So, are these non-Muslim terrorists, using Howard Dean's language, are they ensuring that the future does not belong to these folks in Paris that ran these mocking cartoons?
Uh-huh. Yeah, they really are. Listen, this, dude, I've written about this and talked about this for years. And, the left, Barack Obama included, I mean, he's a poster boy as we speak. Always, whenever planes are flown into buildings or people's infidels' heads are sawed off just because they're infidels, they rush, as he just demonstrated, as Howard Dean did, to remind us again that this is not the religion of peace. It's not what it's all about. I mean, Imam Heinz Kerry tells us that all the time. Dude might as well just go ahead and convert. But what they never, ever, ever talk about is real life Islam. Okay, not terrorism, not the extremists in the Middle East. Honor killings, female genital mutilation, marrying children as young as 7 years old. Let me translate that. Raping children. Some of them die on their quote, quote, wedding night. Stoning women to death who were raped. And stuff as simple, and I say that in quotes as well, as Saudi Arabia not even allowing women the privilege to drive automobiles. They ignore that stuff.
Right. And you know what it is? And this may be a little controversial. These folks that are doing this, what they're doing is they are taking the edicts and the requirements of their holy book seriously, is what they're doing. To say, well, it's a religion of peace and this is not real Islam and all of that, that is prescribing and putting onto the religion that these folks themselves would disagree with. They would say that they are actually carrying out the encouragement and the requirements of their holy book.
And you are exactly right, because these folks that say, and I've read this today, the Quran doesn't, bullcrap. I've read a fair amount of the Quran, and I also have read a whole bunch of Sharia. And what Michael's saying is exactly correct. It is, and it does endorse the stuff that we have described.
Right. Now, it's interesting, man. A buddy, you know what? We're just about out of time, man. Good grief. I just noticed the clock. There's a case to be made, let's put it this way, that the Westboro guys are to Christianity what the radical Muslims are to Islam.
Okay, except they don't fly planes in the building and saw heads off.
Even then, that's exactly true. That is a very important distinction. I would rather go head to head with the Westboro guys. This is the Right Mics. This is Michael Hausum for Mike Miller. We'll be back in a few minutes after.